If you are living with constipation, diarrhea, reflux, or IBS, you have probably heard the same advice 1,000 times. Drink more water, eat more fiber, chew slowly. But here's the truth. None of that works if you think digestion only happens in your stomach. Digestion is not just a blender. It's an orchestra. Your mouth, stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, intestines, microbiome, and even your nervous system all have to play in harmony. And when one instrument is out of tune, whether it's bile flow, gut bacteria, or stress, you feel it as bloating, pain, or urgency. In this masterclass, I will show you how to tune the whole orchestra naturally, so your digestion can finally play in rhythm again. And at the end, I will give you a practical checklist you can use starting tonight to support your digestion, not by organ, but system by system. I am Bimal Maharzan, founder of Gutsphere. I have lived with GI problems, and I built this so you can stop Googling and start feeling lighter today. This is for educational purposes only. It isn't medical advice. A small ask. 90% of our audience don't subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe and help those who suffer find the video and find relief. Every orchestra starts with an opening note, and for digestion, that note comes from your mouth. This is where digestion truly begins. Not in your stomach, not in your intestines, but here with chewing and saliva. Think of chewing as your very first act of tuning the orchestra. When you chew well, you break food into smaller pieces, which means your stomach doesn't have to slam the drums so hard later. At the same time, your saliva adds enzymes that start breaking down the starches right away. But here is the overlooked truth. When you rush meals, chew just a few times, or eat distracted, you are basically asking the rest of your digestive system to sight read music is never seen before. The stomach has to overwork. The small intestines gets uneven notes, and the large ends up with chunks it can't ferment properly, leading to gas, bloating, or constipation. So how do you tune your digestion at the very first note? Slow down. Aim for at least 20 chews per bite. Your saliva is the first digestive enzyme, not just spit. Engage your senses, smell, sight, and taste trigger nerves that prepare the stomach and pancreas to join in. And oral health matters. Gum disease, dry mouth, or missing teeth also affect digestion before food even reaches the stomach. When was the last time you finished a meal and thought, I don't even remember tasting that? If that happens often, your orchestra never got its first opening cue. So remember, the digestive symphony doesn't begin in the stomach. It begins here, in the mouth, with the very first note. The stomach is where most people think digestion begins and ends. Acid, food breakdown, maybe reflux. That's the story. But here is what most don't realize. Your stomach is just the drummer. Like a drummer, its job isn't to play the melody, it's to set the beat so that the rest of the orchestra can come in on time. If the beat is off, every other section, your liver, pancreas, intestines, gets thrown off too. So what does stomach actually do? It mixes food into liquid form, adds acid and enzymes, and times when to release that mixture into the small intestine. Now here is the surprising part. Many people with reflux or chronic constipation actually have too little stomach acid, not too much. But the symptoms can look the same. Food lingers, ferments, and pressure builds. And suddenly, you are told you have too much acid, when in reality, the drummer wasn't loud enough. So how do you support your stomach naturally? Obviously, chew thoroughly. Digestion starts in your mouth, and chewing well is like giving the drummer a clean rhythm to work with. Eat in a relaxed state. Stress shuts down acid production. If you are rushing, your stomach never really switches on. Meal spacing. Constant greasing is like asking the drummer to play without a break. It blurs the rhythm. And here is an important note for those of you with reflux. Sometimes the issue isn't acid itself, but the valve that separates the stomach from esophagus. If that valve relaxes at the wrong time, acid escapes no matter how much or how little you have. So think of your stomach not as the whole band, but as a drummer setting the beat. If you want good digestion, you need a steady, strong rhythm here before the rest of the orchestra can join in. If the stomach is the drummer, then the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas are the brass section of your orchestra. They don't play up front, but they come in together. They give digestion its power. Here is how they work. The liver makes bile, which helps break down fats. The gallbladder stores and releases that bile at the right moment. The pancreas sends enzymes that break down proteins, carbs, and fats into tiny absorbable pieces. When this trio is in sync, your digestion feels smooth. But when they're out of tune, you know it. Ever had greasy, floating stool that's hard to flush? That's often a bile or enzyme issue. Ever felt sharp pain or nausea after fatty meals? That's the gallbladder struggling to release bile. Or if food seems to run straight through you, that can signal pancreatic enzymes aren't pulling their weight. Now here's the kicker. These issues don't just cause diarrhea or indigestion. Over time, they mean you are not absorbing your nutrients. You could be eating plenty, but your body is starving for building blocks it needs. So how can you support this power trio naturally? Bitters before meals. Foods like dandelion greens or even lemon in water can nudge bile flow. Hydration. Bile is mostly water. Dehydration thickens it, like syrup instead of juice. Gentle movement. A short walk after meals stimulates bile release and enzyme flow. And here is where I want to be very clear. If you notice persistent greasy stools, unexplained weight loss, or severe upper abdominal pain, that's your body waving a red flag. Those symptoms need a doctor's evaluation, not just self-care. So think of this trio as your hidden power section. They don't just add flavor, they make digestion work. Without them, your stomach's beat doesn't matter because the orchestra never swells. The small intestine is like the string section of your orchestra. It doesn't bang the drum or blast of horns, but it carries the melody of digestion. This is where nutrients are absorbed into your bloodstream, where food truly becomes fuel. And here is the surprising truth. Most GI problems don't come from your stomach. They come from what happens or doesn't happen here in the small intestine. Think about it. If the absorption is disrupted, it doesn't matter how well you eat. You can swallow the healthiest meal, but your body still comes up empty. That's why people with IBS, celiac disease, or IBD often feel exhausted. Not because they don't eat well, but because their strings are out of tune. So what throws the small intestine off? Too much fermentation too early. That's SIBO, where bacteria overgrow here instead of staying in the large intestine. Rapid transit. Food rushes through without being absorbed, leading to diarrhea and nutrient loss. Inflammation, like in Crohn's or celiac, where the lining gets damaged and even basic foods trigger pain. So how do you support the small intestine naturally? Space your meals. Constant snacking keeps the strings buzzing without rest. Giving 4 to 5 hours between meals lets the migrating motor complex sweep out the gut clean. Support the lining. Nutrients like the zinc, glutamine, and polyphenols help keep the barrier strong. Think bone broth, cabbage juice, berries, and go gentle during fairs. A temporary low FODMAP diet can reduce fermentation pressure, like softening the sound until the strings are ready to play again. So here's a reflection for you. Do you get full after just a few bites? Do you lose weight without even trying? Do you have ongoing diarrhea? If so, that's not just a nosy violin, that's the entire string section struggling. Those are the signs to talk to your doctor. So, the small intestine is delicate, precise like strings. When it's tuned, every note of nutrition flows through our body. When it's off, even the best meal can leave you drained. If the small intestine is the strings carrying the melody, the large intestine and the microbiome are the choir. And like any choir, they can sing in harmony or in complete chaos. Here is the truth. Most of the symptoms that drive people crazy, constipation, diarrhea, bloating, happen here, not in the stomach. And it's usually not about one food. It's about how the whole choir is singing. When the choir is in harmony, the large intestines reabsorbs water, balances electrolytes, and the microbiome formats fiber into short-chain fatty acids, fuel that heals the gut and even supports your brain. But when it's out of tune, constipation often links to methane-producing microbes that slow motility, making stools hard and dry. Diarrhea can happen when bile acid spills into the colon or when dysbiosis disrupts the water balance. IBS flares often come from the choir switching between harmony and chaos. One week constipation, the next week diarrhea. Here is the myth-busting part. Most advice says just eat more fiber. But if your choir is already off key, adding more singers doesn't fix it. It can make the noise louder. That's why some people with IBS actually feel worse when they suddenly increase fiber. So how do you support the choir naturally? Choose the right fiber. Soluble fiber, oats, chia seeds, psyllium. It's gentler and better tolerated than raw brown or rough insoluble fiber. Feed diversity slowly. Resistant starches like cooked and cool potatoes, green bananas can nurture beneficial microbes if introduced gradually, and respect circadian rhythm. The microbiome changes across the day. Eating at consistent times and not too late at night helps keep the choir in sync. So here is a reflection. When you journal, note not what just you ate, but when. Do your symptoms fare after late night meals or sudden fiber change? That's your choir telling you it's out of rhythm. So remember, your large intestine and microbiome aren't background singers. They are a choir with powerful voices. And when you guide them well, they sing in harmony with the rest of your digestion. Every orchestra needs a conductor. And in digestion, that's your nervous system. Here is the surprising part. You could have healthy organs, the right enzymes, even a balanced microbiome. But if the conductor isn't steady, the whole performance falls apart. Think about it. Have you ever had constipation right before an important meeting or diarrhea during a stressful week? That's not random. That's your nervous system sending the wrong cues to your gut. When your body is in fight or flight mode, blood flow leaves the digestive tract. Stomach acid shuts down, motility either freezes or surges. The drummer, the strings, the choir, they all look to the conductor for cues, and the conductor has walk off stage. And it's not just stress, trauma, anxiety, even chronic worry can keep the gut locked in the wrong rhythm for years. That's why IBS, reflux, IBD often flare during the life's toughest moments. So how do you support the conductor? Breathe before meals. 3 slow belly breaths can switch you from fight or flight into a rest and digest. Engage the vagus nerve, humming, singing, gargling, even laughing. tone the conductor and bring calm signals back to the gut. Eat in safety. Where and how you eat matters. Rust, tense meals are like asking the orchestra to play in a thunderstorm. Here is a reflection for you. Think about your worst flare-ups. Did they come during calm times or in the middle of stress, deadlines, or conflict? If stress is a trigger, then calming the conductor may matter just as much as any food you eat. Because when the nervous system is tuned, the orchestra can finally follow the rhythm. Without it, even the best instruments can't play. Every orchestra plays from the sheet music. Without it, even the best instruments drift out of sync. For your digestion, that sheet music is rhythm and timing, your circadian clock. Here is what most people don't realize. Digestion isn't just about what you eat, it's about when. Your gut has its own clock. During the day, stomach acid is stronger, enzymes are more active, motility is faster. At night, everything slows down so your body can rest. That's why eating late is like asking the orchestra to perform at 3 a.m. The musicians are there, but they are exhausted. When you push food into the wrong rhythm, symptoms spike. Reflux is worse at night because your stomach and valve are less alert. IBS flares often follow irregular meals or sometimes jet lag. Constipation can worsen when your body clock is off. Your colon likes routine. So how do you tune your digestion sheet music? Finish dinner at least 3 hours before bed. Give your orchestra time to play before lights out. Eat at consistent times each day. Your gut loves predictability. It performs best with a steady tempo. Get morning light. Circadian rhythm isn't just about meals. Natural light helps your brain and gut clocks sync up. When do your symptoms flare most? Late nights, skip meals, or travel days? If so, it may not be the food itself, it may be the timing, because digestion isn't just chemistry, it's rhythm. And when your meals follow the right tempo, your orchestra plays in harmony. Here is the part almost no one talks about. Digestion isn't just physical, it's deeply human. Living with GI issues can be exhausting, not just because of the symptoms, but because of the uncertainty. Not knowing if you will be constipated on the day of an important meeting, not knowing if diarrhea will keep you tied up to the bathroom, not knowing if reflux will burn you awake at night. That unpredictability creates shame, anxiety, and sometimes isolation. And the truth is, those emotions don't just sit in your head. They loop back into your gut. Stress and worry tightens the conductor's grip, silence the stomach's beat, and throw the microbiome's core into chaos. So how do you reclaim agency in the middle of this? Rituals. A moment of gratitude or calm breathing before meals can send a message of safety to your gut. Journaling, tracking symptoms, meals, moods turns chaos into pattern and patterns into insight. Support, talking openly, whether in a community, with a therapist, or just with someone you trust, breaks the cycle of silence. Do you notice how much worse your symptoms feel when you're anxious or ashamed? If so, it's not just in your head, it's in your body. And giving yourself permission to care for the whole you is one of the most powerful digestive tools you can have. Because digestion isn't just an orchestra of organs, it's part of the symphony of your life. So now you have seen it. Digestion isn't a solo act, it's an orchestra. And tuning your digestion means supporting every section, not just blaming the stomach. A checklist. 5 simple things you can start tonight. Before meals, pause. Take 3 slow belly breaths. Chew until your food feels liquid. That's how you set the beat. And during meals, relax. No rushing, no screens, no stress storms. A calm conductor makes the whole orchestra play better. After meals, move. A gentle 5-10 minute walk helps bile flow, enzymes, and motility stay in rhythm. Across the day, keep a rhythm. Eat at consistent times. Finish dinner 3 hours before bed. And let your gut rest between meals. Each week, reflect. Journal your symptoms, moods, and meal patterns. That's how you discover which instrument in your orchestra is out of tune. So here is a reflection prompt for you. Tonight, ask yourself, which part of your digestive orchestra feels most out of tune right now? Is it the stomach's rhythm, the microbiome's choir, the nervous system conductor? That's your starting point. Because when you stop chasing one organ and start tuning the system, digestion doesn't just get easier, it gets more human, more predictable, and more free. If this masterclass helped you, subscribe for more. And if you want a tool to map your own orchestra and see your patterns clearly, that's exactly why we built Gutsphere. You don't have to play this alone.